In the flashing red lights of the emergency ward, I was checking the chart of my last patient. It was my 5th year as a night shift nurse at Mass General Hospital. Though I should have been used to the late-night commotion by now, tonight it seemed particularly grating on my nerves. The ambulance sirens, doctors calling out orders, and the beeping of heart monitors all merged into a discordant symphony. "Good work today, Emma. Go home early and get some rest," a senior nurse called out kindly. I nodded while checking my smartphone. 3 messages from Mom, my father's blood pressure readings, a photo of the New England clam chowder she'd made for dinner, and a reminder about tomorrow's family meeting. Looking at the soup photo, I could picture Mom's worried expression. 2 years ago, Dad had suffered a mild stroke and took early retirement from his construction company. Under strict medical guidance, he had to give up the work he'd done for over 30 years. Since then, Mom has been meticulously monitoring his health. His meals are strictly low sodium, and he never misses his daily walks. I try to visit them as much as possible during the day after my night shifts. Just thinking about tomorrow's family meeting makes my stomach churn. The topic is the inheritance from my paternal grandparents. Last month, my Uncle George, Dad's brother, suddenly passed away, and his share was to be divided between my brother and me. The total amount is about $2 million, including a house in Cambridge, investment trusts, and my grandparents' savings. My brother James has been building a successful career as a director at the construction company, earning over $150,000 a year. His new wife Rachel, whom he married 2 years ago, is a 34-year-old real estate agent. As a top seller at Boston Real Estate Partners, she posts photos of luxury property viewings on Instagram and hosts open houses on weekends. She drives around in a Lexus RX, draped in luxury brands, playing the perfect wife on social media. But lately, something's been off with my brother. Especially since the inheritance discussion came up, his attitude toward me has suddenly turned cold. My once kind brother, who used to invite his little sister over for steak dinners on holidays, now barely responds when we meet. When I invite him to Sunday brunch, he brushes me off with a simple "I'm busy." Mom seems to have noticed too. After a church community gathering, she called me, sounding worried. "That child has been acting strange lately," she said. She mentioned catching Rachel making suspicious phone calls late at night. Mom was also concerned about the new car purchases and the constant stream of expensive brand name items. Though my brother and his wife live just a 10-minute walk from our parents' house, they've been showing up less frequently. "Emma, your brother seems tired. He's been working more overtime lately." Indeed, James didn't look well. Despite talks of a promotion at work, he seemed to have lost his vitality. I hadn't missed how his shoulders would slump slightly whenever Rachel made another lavish purchase. Leaving the hospital, I drove through the pre-dawn streets. In the quiet residential area of Cambridge, Massachusetts, near Harvard University, my parents have lived in the same house for over 30 years. This is where my brother and I grew up. Our weekend shopping trips to Whole Foods Market and family dinners at Legal Seafoods, these memories seem to be losing their color amid the recent tension. Driving along Charles River, I contemplated tomorrow's family meeting. The inheritance discussion surely wouldn't go smoothly. Rachel's behavior, my brother's attitude, our parents' concerns, everything was intertwined, creating an oppressive atmosphere. As an emergency nurse, I've handled numerous crisis situations, but this family crisis might prove to be my most challenging case yet. With my nurse's salary of $75,000, I was already juggling work with helping care for my parents, and now I faced this family crisis too. I parked and made tea in my apartment's open kitchen. Outside the window, a new day was beginning to dawn. Tomorrow's family meeting would surely change something. That premonition filled the room quietly, along with the steam from my hot tea. A heavy atmosphere hung in my parents' dining room. The aroma of Mom's homemade New England clam chowder wafted from the open kitchen. "She'd been cooking this soup since morning," she said. It was a labor of love, made with reduced sodium for Dad's health and packed with finely chopped vegetables. The clock showed 6 p.m. 5 of us sat at the table: Dad, Mom, James, Rachel, and me. The dining room, surrounded by antique china cabinets, had been our family gathering place for over 30 years. But tonight, none of the usual warmth could be felt. Only the sound of the air conditioning emphasized the unusual silence. "Well, shall we discuss the inheritance matter?" Dad's voice seemed to tremble slightly. Since his stroke, his right hand had become somewhat impaired, and he gripped his spoon with his left. A blood pressure log sat by his place, filled with Mom's detailed records. According to George's will, his share is to be split equally between James and Emma. At Dad's words, I noticed Rachel's expression tighten momentarily. She was unconsciously touching her new Cartier watch. Last week, she had proudly shown off her new Lexus to Mom at Whole Foods Market. That Lexus now gleamed in the parking lot. However, regarding the grandparents' inheritance, that's when it happened. I accidentally dropped my soup spoon. Cream-colored soup splattered across the white tablecloth. A small amount landed on Rachel's new blouse. The luxury brand tag peeked out at her collar. "You filthy woman. Clean this up right now." Rachel's scream echoed through the quiet dining room. The next moment, she grabbed her soup and threw the hot liquid at me. New stains spread across the tablecloth. "Rachel!" Mom screamed. Hot soup dripped down my chest. Though I avoided burns, my blouse was ruined. But what hurt more was my brother's reaction. "Either pay for it or get out," James said coldly, criticizing me. No trace remained of my once kind brother. He placed his hand on Rachel's shoulder, his eyes tired. "James, how could you?" Mom's voice trembled. Dad watched the scene speechlessly. His blood pressure monitor sat on the table like a silent witness. I stood up quietly. As an emergency nurse at Mass General Hospital, I should have been trained in staying calm during crises. I deal with life and death situations daily and make level-headed decisions. Yet I couldn't stop my tears at this humiliation in front of my family. "Excuse me," I said as I left my seat. Rachel shot me a triumphant look, her expensive earrings glinting in the evening light. As I headed to the door, I could hear Mom's stifled sobs. Outside, night had already fallen. A cold wind from the Charles River wrapped around my soup-soaked body. I got into my car and gripped the steering wheel, but couldn't start the engine. My vision was too blurred with tears to see anything. This home held over 30 years of memories. When Dad had his stroke, my brother and I had taken turns staying at the hospital and supporting Mom. The weekly family meals, Thanksgiving turkeys, Christmas apple pies, all should have been warm memories. Family photos on the walls still showed smiles that had now been lost. But why? Why had my brother become so cold? Where was Rachel's money for her extravagant spending coming from? Were our parents' worries justified? The new car, luxury brands, endless parade of expensive items. Could a real estate agent's salary really support that lifestyle? The more I thought about it, the more confused I became. My quick decision-making skills in the emergency room were useless when it came to my own family problems. The composure I maintained in medical situations meant nothing here. My phone vibrated. Looking at the screen, I saw a message from Mom. "Emma, I'm so sorry. You did nothing wrong. Don't come home tonight, just go somewhere and relax." Unable to find words to reply, I started the engine. I'd go back to my apartment, take a shower, and try to forget about today. Mom's words weighed heavily on my heart. However, the night wasn't over yet. Before the soup stains could dry, our family crisis would take a new turn. Just after getting out of the shower in my apartment, my phone rang. It was past 9 p.m. The screen showed Mom's number. I thought it might be another apology for the dinner incident, but her voice had a completely different tone. "Emma, come quickly. I found some documents." Mom's voice was shaking. Whether from excitement or fear, I couldn't tell. Her usual composure was gone, her distress evident even over the phone. While I was vacuuming Rachel's document bag in Dad's study. "I'm coming right now." Fighting my exhaustion, I drove back. The road along Charles River was wrapped in darkness. The usually pleasant night view now seemed to cast ominous shadows. When I arrived home, Mom was waiting at the entrance. Her usually neat gray hair was slightly disheveled. Dad had taken his blood pressure medication and was already asleep. She said he'd seemed more tired than usual at the weekend church community gathering. "Before you take off your coat, look at this." Mom led me to her bedroom. On the antique bed lay an expensive leather business bag, the same brand Rachel had been carrying when Mom saw her at Whole Foods Market. A stack of documents taken from inside lay illuminated by the room's light. It was in the corner of the study. Rachel brought it yesterday and seems to have forgotten it. Normally I'd never look, but I picked up the documents. They revealed shocking facts. Collection notices from multiple banks. Unpaid credit card bills totaling $300,000. Luxury car loan default notices. Divorce settlement papers from a previous marriage. Suspicious real estate contract documents. All the papers revealed the dark side of Rachel's luxurious lifestyle. The new Lexus RX, Cartier watch, designer brand clothes, it was all built on debt. Her income as a real estate agent was disappearing into maintaining the facade of a luxurious lifestyle. "It seems she's done this before, married for inheritance," Mom's voice mixed anger and sadness. Checking the dates on the documents, they were all recent. The debts had especially increased since the grandparents' inheritance discussion began. Those late-night phone calls must have been from debt collectors. Last week I heard her arguing with someone in the middle of the night. Mom sighed. As a nurse, I'd seen many patients suffering. In the emergency room, I'd faced people in life crises. But I couldn't understand the psychology of someone who would deceive family like this. Do you think James knows about this? I couldn't immediately answer Mom's question. My brother's exhausted expression increased over time, Rachel's expensive purchases. His abnormal reaction at dinner. All the puzzles were slowly connecting. Let's consult Bob. Bob, Dad's best friend and lawyer. He often joined our family dinners at Legal Seafoods, a trusted advisor. He could help us sort out this problem from a legal perspective. We arrived at Bob's law office at 8 a.m. the next morning. Mom looked like she hadn't slept at all, clutching the stack of documents we'd found last night. Let's have some coffee first. Bob asked his secretary for coffee before starting to review the documents. His eyes, which had graduated first in his class from Harvard Law School, grew increasingly stern. This is a serious matter. After reviewing the documents, Bob frowned deeply. Receipts from Whole Foods Market, luxury brand purchase records, and collection notices from multiple banks, everything pointed to one large fraud scheme. Let's investigate Rachel's past immediately. The previous husband situation concerns me. Bob's investigation was swift. Rachel, or rather, Karen Miller. Shockingly, she had been married 3 times before, all to wealthy families. The last marriage was 3 years ago. We received shocking testimony from that family. She disappeared like a thief in the night right after the inheritance, the ex-husband's mother said over the phone. She got $3 million in inheritance, left nothing but debt, and vanished. The police are still looking for her. Her method was always the same. Target wealthy families with upcoming inheritances, play the perfect wife. Post ideal married life on social media, attend church, build a good reputation in the church community. Drive luxury cars, wear brand names, pose as a successful real estate agent. Then disappear after securing the inheritance. This time, Uncle George's sudden death had disrupted her plans. The inheritance discussion came up earlier than expected, and with debt collectors closing in, she was getting desperate. The new Cartier watch, the Lexus RX, all were just props in her scheme. So last night's soup incident was planned too. Anger seeped into Mom's voice. She had tried to drive me away to improve her position in the inheritance negotiations. It was a strategy to separate my brother from me and divide the family. My chest hurt thinking that even the moment when the New England clam chowder splattered might have been part of her calculations. Further investigation revealed suspicions about her real estate dealings too. Her high-value property transactions at Boston Real Estate Partners. Behind the seemingly impressive sales record were traces of sophisticated money laundering. Even the weekend open houses were likely all for show. We might need to report this to the police, Bob said. Especially the real estate dealings, they could constitute fraud. Just then, my phone rang. It was my brother. Emma, we need to talk. Legal Seafoods for lunch. His voice was shaking. Had he noticed something too? His exhausted voice carried a hint of its former warmth. After explaining the situation to Mom and Bob, I headed to the meeting place. At the restaurant along Charles River, my brother sat alone by the window. His usually neat tie was crooked. "I've discovered Rachel's true identity." James began speaking with a tired expression. "After I left last night, he'd become suspicious of his wife's behavior and checked the documents in the study. There he found the divorce settlement papers. An internet search of the ex-husband's name led him to the whole truth. He even found blogs from other victim families." "I'm so sorry for doubting you." Tears glistened in my brother's eyes. After a long silence, we embraced like the close siblings we once were. Memories of celebrating birthdays at this restaurant in our childhood came flooding back. Outside the window, the surface of Charles River quietly reflected the light. We reaffirmed that our 30-year sibling bond couldn't be easily broken by one fraudster's schemes. "Let's go see Mom and Dad." Just as we were about to head home, James's phone rang. It was Rachel. "You know everything now, don't you?" "But I have my side of the story. I'm ready to tell you everything." Her voice lacked its usual arrogance. Behind it, someone could be heard yelling, probably a debt collector. As an emergency nurse, I could recognize the voice of someone backed into a corner. There was genuine fear in her voice. The situation was about to reach its climax. This family crisis, unlike anything I'd experienced in Mass General Hospital's emergency room, was heading toward its final phase. The family meeting was held in a private room at Legal Seafoods. Dad, Mom, James, and me. Bob was also present. No one spoke while waiting for Rachel. She arrived 10 minutes late. Gone were her usual luxury brands, replaced by a simple dress. "I'll tell you everything." Rachel, or rather, Karen, sat down and took out a notebook labeled "Confession Note." "My real name is Karen Miller. I've been married 3 times before, and I lost all the inheritance money I got. I'm a gambling addict." Her confession lasted 3 hours. Orphaned young when her parents died in an accident, she was raised by wealthy grandparents and inherited their fortune at 18. But she lost everything at casinos. Since then, she'd been repeating a cycle of marriage fraud to obtain money, only to lose it all to gambling. This time was supposed to be different. I really did love James. But the debt collectors were closing in. Tears flowed from her eyes. Dad let out a deep sigh, and Mom lowered her eyes sadly. "I'll turn myself into the police. I'll confess to the real estate fraud too." Just at that moment, the private room's door opened. 3 men appeared. "Pay up your debts." The debt collectors. I instantly rose with my emergency nurse's instincts moving to protect Dad. "I'll pay everything back," James suddenly stood up. "But on one condition. Karen must admit to all her crimes and enter a rehabilitation program. And agree to an amicable divorce." "James." Karen called her husband's name with a trembling voice. 1 year later, the family gathered again in Dad's dining room. Dad's blood pressure was stable, and Mom's homemade New England clam chowder was on the table. James had paid off the debts and finalized his divorce from Karen. She was now at a rehabilitation facility, continuing her battle against gambling addiction. The inheritance was divided according to legal succession. But we had regained something even more precious. "Emma, would you like more soup?" I nodded with a smile at my brother's gentle voice. Dad and Mom wore peaceful expressions too. The sunset over the Charles River quietly illuminated our family's new shape. As an emergency nurse at Mass General Hospital, I've witnessed many crises. But now I can say with certainty that family bonds can heal any wound. Our weekend shopping at Whole Foods Market and dinners at Legal Seafoods had returned to normal. Yet it was different from before. A new normal had begun for our family who had weathered the crisis together. Dad's blood pressure readings looked good. Mom smiled as she checked his health management notebook. Time moves forward, people change, but family endures. The gentle afternoon light streamed into the dining room, illuminating our renewed bonds.